What industry are you glad that millennials are killing? Telephone books. Why are they still sending me one every year? I don't even own a fireplace. Oh look, somebody printed out part of the internet for me to throw away. Pete Holmes. Magazines who produce articles about what industries millennials are killing. We used to call it innovation and the advancement of technology. Now we say it's killed by millennials. I think it is a little ironic, because media blasts millennials for lack of responsibility and commitment. Here we see industries failing to take responsibility and put in the commitment to stay with the times and offer what customers want. Cable TV. Frick you and commercials and forcing me to buy $100 cable packages. I will watch my shows on demand online until you die. With Netflix, HBO, Hulu, Amazon, Disney and probably many more, I fear internet streaming is actually going to go in the same direction as TV packages. I fear that we'll have to choose streaming packages to be able to get all the content we want. Yeah, but at least now you can get Netflix, one of your friends gets Hulu, one friend gets HBO and you all share accounts. Can't do that with cable. Netflix in Germany is terrible. We have only circa 30% of Netflix content and must pay the same amount as Americans. Frick that. Still using torrents. I wish we had something like Steam, but for movies and series for a reasonable price. Except now everyone thinks they can create their own overpriced streaming service. Disney? Okay. Maybe. If you have kids. But CBS? Seriously? You think anyone's going to pay a monthly fee just to watch it that isn't good enough to put on TV? And no, the new Star Trek isn't enough to make anyone pay for it. Besides, most Trek fans know a dozen ways to watch that for free. We just need a way to bundle these streaming services together for a monthly fee. Perhaps in a way that you just have to press one button on your remote to switch between them. How convenient would that be? I think I count. Just turned 29. Need to kill bullet music venue ticket surcharges. Convenience fee. Delivery method. Email. £1.50. We're killing a lot of stupid things to make room for better stupid things. Seriously. I mean, at first the replacements will be great, but then eventually they're going to suck and they'll die off too. Someone in this thread mentioned taxis. Maybe taxis used to be awesome, but for the most part they suck now. I think a huge amount of millennials switched to apps like Uber and Lyft, because they are far superior to taxis for now. Eventually we're going to complete the circle and in a generation or two, maybe not even that long, they're gonna think what the frick were our parents thinking for using this it. Diamond engagement rings that cost a quarter of your annual salary. I'm an unengaged woman, but I swear to it if my boyfriend proposed to me with a ring that cost over 10 grand I would probably say no on account of that money going to such a stupid place. We could go traveling for half a year with that. We could have a Bomat honeymoon. We could have a Domino's every week for about 9 years. Or it could sit on my finger and stop men trying to chat me up. My boyfriend already does that. Thank you. We could have a Domino's every week for about 9 years. Marry me. Scientology. Oh absolutely. They are already losing members constantly and fell under 50.000. Unfortunately they got a good grip on the children of members, because they are the easiest to brainwash, but hopefully they'll be freed as well. At least they get very few new members. Hopefully puppy mills. My dad purchased 2 Labradors, a mother and daughter, from a puppy mill. They were 2 older dogs that had been used to produce litters of puppies and were just worn out. He collected them at the end of a long driveway. Both were just chained up to a couple of spikes in the ground. Easy enough to get out. These 2 dogs were just all sagging tits with no enthusiasm left in them. Once home he called the RSPCA and they would look into it. He didn't know what kind of place it was before purchasing the dogs. Both lived with my dad for 7 years, before both died within 4 months of each other. Sugary cereal. Sugary yogurt. Apparently millennials don't buy Yoplait yogurt and they've finally had to rethink what they offer, i.e. more protein, less sugar. It'll take a long time for over sugary things to die out, as food companies have pushed too much sugar into things for years and years. But the reign of sugar does seem to be eroding somewhat, at least in processed foods. Look at the checkout area at the grocery store or Target. It used to be all candy, but now there's kind bars, jerky, etc. It's actually a challenge for the candy companies. They used to have guaranteed space there, that is now being given to healthier products. I have the biggest sweet tooth, and I eat candy bars sometimes, but I do that knowing it's a junk food treat, not a regular snack. I think the biggest changes I've noticed are more in things like cereal, where the sugar content is through the roof, but they still try to sell it as part of a balanced breakfast like it could be healthy to eat some. People are better informed now. They know that Captain Crunch is bad for you despite being sold as a breakfast staple, instead of a sugary treat. There is definitely a bigger market for healthy things in general too. Sometimes companies will sneak in a sugary thing under the guise of being healthy chocolate covered granola bars. But I think overall our food choices are improving. The wedding industry. It's nice to see millennials opting to travel and focus on their careers before deciding to get married. I also love the fact that a lot of millennials are opting for weddings that don't cost them a fortune. Any industry or business that can be killed by millennials deserves it. This is the exact meaning of the customer is always right. Some things suck and deserve to die. I'll spend my money on something I want, not what you tell me I want. Weddings and funerals. No, not the ancient social practices. The parasitic industries built on them. Specifically, the Victorian-era relic traditions that make people sink ungodly amounts of money into stupid conspicuous consumption that they cannot afford and doesn't do a freaking bit of good. Spending $30,000 on a wedding and $5,000 on a ring when both of you have student loan debt is stupid. Any culture that pressures people to do that in the aim of essentially pretending you're a rich person is stupid. And the industry that leaves off of that social obligation to spend beyond your means for a wedding is parasitic. Spending $10,000 for a bunch of frilly garbage when someone you love has died is bullet. And the people who exploit the grief and heartbreak of others to extract huge amounts of money from them are despicable pieces of crap. Millennials are abandoning both of these ideas and drifting slowly back to the actual meaning of both events. Weddings are to forge a social bond, not impress people with wealth. Funerals are for honoring a loved one in the way they would want, not following a predetermined tradition that's based on extortion. When my time comes, I don't want to burden my family with an expensive funeral. Just bury me or cremate me and get it over with. I really don't have a preference. Everybody always says they want a small funeral or a fun funeral to celebrate their life. But I think when it comes down to it, most people end up with traditional funerals, because funerals are for the living, not the dead person. So it goes according to what the next of kin feel is appropriate, which is usually sad rather than fun or what have you. My mum is going to a living funeral this weekend. Her co-worker is terminal with little time left, so she's throwing her own funeral. She figures if it's about celebrating her life, why not be there and celebrate too? I think that's an awesome idea. Itty microwave restaurants. Applebee's, Chili's, TGI Fridays, Macaroni Grill, etc. One of the consequences of having less money than previous generations is the desire to only spend money on worthwhile things. People don't seem to understand that mediocrity is a luxury. If you have limited funds you're sure as it don't spend $20 on microwave dinners served in a loud family environment. Is it really that we're killing that industry? Is this not just capitalism and the market economy at work? Yes, 110%. We may as well blame the previous generation for sending all VCR repairmen out of a job too while we're at it. Them and their gosh darn DVDs. All industries evolve as technology grows and greater forms of convenience appear. My parents use Uber and Lyft about as frequently as people in their 20s and 30s. It's not just millennials, it's the world changing. Smoking. Now it's a different kind of smoking. Weed or vaping? Yes. Taxis. Seriously. I've met some nice ones, but most of the taxi drivers I've ridden with in the past 5 years didn't know directions, refused to take credit card, or were just plain rude. I'll take an Uber driver with a nice car over that any day. I had a driver ask my friend and I if we would steal a bunch of firewood for him. Didn't even comp the ride. Television. Hopefully. After not having a TV for about 6 years, my mum gave me her old one that she doesn't use anymore and I was amazed by all the terrible sludge on there. I'm not even talking about bad sitcoms. I'm talking about the overwhelming amount of content that's obviously made for gullible older people. Like Dr. Oz and those news segments that are like new dangerous teen fad or this technology could actually kill you. Stuff that's been circulating around the internet for months or even years and has usually been disproven. Of course a lot of stuff on the internet is trash too, but there are alternatives to the trash. Anybody can post. You don't have to have a contract with some TV station to get your work out there. Dr. Oz and those news segments that are like new dangerous teen fad or this technology could actually kill you. Clickbait for old people. If watching Judge Judy is wrong, I don't wanna be right.